Hello and welcome. My name's Micah and I'm guiding you through drawing a Ganesh Yantra today from the beginning to the end, and it will include like mantra, shows you what materials you need, and we go step by step through the process, and it's free, yours to have and to follow whenever you would like to. And to explore Ganesh, which represents new beginnings, removing obstacles for those new beginnings, setting foundations. He feels to me that's an energy within us that's like that foundational masculine energy of doing and removing things that stop us from doing those things that we need to do. And he's great. He's known as the elephant god because he has a head of an elephant. Yeah, please do just follow along in your own time. And if you have any questions at the end or anything, or would like to contact me for anything, to touch base, maybe to do more workshops or what have you, then please don't hesitate to be in touch. Thank you. Okay, so this is to draw a Ganesh Yantra. A yantra is a sacred geometrical mystical design used in yoga and in the Eastern philosophy for meditation purposes. And Ganesh is the root chakra god associated with the root chakra and known to remove obstacles that prevent us from being really true to ourselves. And each of the yantra have different, the centers are different. Some have different layers to them, different amounts of petals, different circles, and different triangular formations in the middle. So we're starting with the root, with Ganesh today. You'll need a piece of paper. I'd suggest a good quality art paper, and or a canvas, or board, or whatever material you feel comfortable drawing on. And you will need a compass, a good quality compass. Also, we're going to need a ruler. Yeah, a long, at least 30 centimetres long is probably the best idea, really, to make it easier. A pencil, sharpener for the pencil, obviously, an eraser, and I've got a black pen here just to go over the lines, but you may not want to use that till the end. And you can use a protractor just to measure that you have the angles correct, and a marker. So the reason I have a marker is because I like to set an intention before drawing the yantra, kind of imbuing it with love and creativity, because I feel that the canvas or paper, well, it's a blank canvas, isn't it? And I kind of equate this to the Big Bang, in the fact that the moment that our compass first goes into the center point, from there we draw our first circle and the universe comes into existence. From nothing, everything starts to be created. So I liken a human life, which is like from nothing, from an idea, a thought, we come into human form, and so too all of existence, and so too a yantra or painting or whatever we're doing in a creative way. So I have a mala here, and I'll start off by sitting quietly, bringing my intention inside myself to explore the inner world, basically the inner dimensions to our being. And I'll start by repeating Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha 108 times, which is one mile around. So I suggest you take a few moments just to sit quietly. Sit in your chair, or if you're doing it cross-legged on the floor with a straight back. Just allow all your anxieties, anything, just leave it at the door. Any worries, concerns, what have you, just let them wash away and just be here right now. Just being aware of your body, aware of your breath, letting go of any judgments that might come up, letting go of any control of any thoughts that are coming, any distractions, what have you, just observing, just noticing what's happening. And then from your root, just kind of inhale through your root and up through your abdomen, your chest, throat, and a nice R breath out through your mouth. Repeat that a couple of times. And allow your breath to fall away. Allow yourself to soften, to melt into yourself. To be quiet and still. And now in this space, just bring an idea of Ganesh, a thought about Ganesh to yourself, or more of a felt thought rather than letting your head just take you off in different directions. Maybe an intention of removing an obstacle in your life. Maybe it's you want a new job, or you've got a relationship problem, or there's something in yourself that's you're not happy about, or what have you. Just kind of seeking for guidance within yourself, because Ganesh, although he's a Hindu god, to me it represents that part within myself on an unseen level, the foundation, the root of us. And we all need strong foundations. So just a moment to set an intention to yourself, your true self, to the Ganesh, the remover of obstacles in your life, and for deeper revealing of what a yantra means to you. Okay, so I have a mala here, and I'm gonna do 108 Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, and invite you to join in as we go along. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, 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 Om Ganganapataye 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 Namaha. Take a moment to be quiet still, to allow the energy of the mantra to course through your system, your intention to be ignited, and your wish to realize yourself more deeply. Okay, now in your own time, open your eyes, come to your piece of paper. The thing about Yantra is that I've learnt, and I'm not saying I know all about Yantra because I don't, and in fact the more I draw and paint them, the less I realise I know on an intellectual level, but the more I'm feeling them in my whole system, in my heart. And with drawing a yantra, it's about the whole divinity of it, and an honouring and a respecting, of these aspects, this of Ganesh, of this energy within our system, and that there is more to us than maybe we know. It's where the respect and honouring come in for me. With the drawing of it, we move around the yantra rather than moving the piece of paper and the yantra to suit us. There is more to it about direction of sitting and what have you, but I'm not doing that in this video. Big warning at this point, draw everything faintly. Light pencil marks are needed just to save on trying to rub something out. And if it's drawn too strongly, then it's going to be really hard to rub out. So, warning, draw faintly. Anyway, bring us back to the starting off. So we need to find the centre point of our blank canvas from which everything will come. So I find the easiest way is just to measure horizontally and vertically and end up with a point where they where the lines meet. Okay, so now we have the cross in our paper and have found the centre point on our blank canvas, and this is the moment from which everything comes into being. From the Big Bang erupting, from nothing comes everything. From a blank canvas or paper comes existence. So we will start off by drawing a circle, setting it to a size that you would like it to be, no nearer to the edge than 2 centimetres. And once we've drawn that first circle, we keep the radius the same on the compass, and we move it to the 12 o'clock position, 6 o'clock position, then the 9 o'clock position, then the 3 o'clock position, and draw more circles. I've drawn the whole circle here just so that you can see the 4 petal effect that it produces, and 4 is like the 4 corners of our world, of our foundation. We know any house has these types of foundations and the 4 petals that run through all of Mother Nature in her geometric form. Draw it really faintly. After that, where those kiss points are at the top, as you can see where I'm putting the ruler, we then draw the diagonal lines. So those, just using compass and pencil, we've created the diagonals, which will show the 4 corners, represent the 4 corners of the square, the Bupura outline that we're about to create. And the square represents the earth, the world in which we live in. And each of our worlds is different because we're all coming from our own perspective. And so all of the yantras will be slightly different in some way. We then go on to draw the square, and we're doing this from the inner points of where those lines, diagonal lines, meet that first circle, so inside that first circle rather than outside. And you'll end up with a square. That's like your earth. So we've gone out into the universe, and now we're travelling back home to our centre from which we've never left. And so we have our time in the world, living in the material world out there, doing, and then we bring our attention. There comes a time when we bring our attention inside. We start to question, who am I? And now we're drawing the gates. To draw the arcs, or kisses as I call them, set your compass radius just over halfway. So we start in the 12 o'clock position and we draw a couple of arcs, and then we take it to the left and draw an arc either side at like 10 and 2-ish position, as you can see I'm doing here. And then we take it to the right corner, and then we go to the bottom and do the same, starting in the middle to do the arcs. And then to the left, as such. And then to the right. And then we repeat for the other 2. We're now drawing horizontal lines to connect those kisses, because it's all about love. North, south, And if you find that the markings are slightly out, you can see with your eye it's not quite straight, then just make them straight at this point. It's very easy for it not to be completely accurate. Now we set the compass halfway, just over halfway between that point where you can see just by the compass. So a bit over halfway, just approximate, it doesn't have to be exact. And then you draw an arc above again, like we just did before, but from that new top horizontal line, as you can see I'm doing here. And then we do that same process again, all the way north, south, west and east. Using that same setting of the compass, we now need to make the gate bit where it joins, where it opens into the square. And here I'm just using that same setting, putting it at each point and putting a little arc, so that will just show the depth to each gate and making the connecting of it all a lot easier. And then we use the ruler. If it's not too big, your yantra, then you'll be able to just check that they're measured up using from the top north and south positions. So you can just draw a line to that little arc where it meets the arc that we've just drawn, and you just go around for each one. And as we go along, it's good just to check in, to just repeat the mantra if you feel inclined to. Just allow it just to be silently inside, just mulling over in the background, building momentum, and just observe it and observe what thoughts are coming up. So now we're going where those original crosses were at the top. You can just see them on the page, those smaller little kisses that we did. We're using those to make the inner gateway. And we're going up, just guesstimate really, just up to the same level as the where that arc was, because we're going to be joining that up, as you can see with the rule, my pencil there, to make the gateway. So we do that with those crosses, those kisses that we made, crosses, whatever you like to know them as. And you don't need to worry too much about it. And then getting the exact length, because we're going to go across in a moment to connect it all up. So now, as I just said, it's going to join those up. I'm gently remembering the mantra again, if that feels good for you. And there we go, we have our outer Bhupura outline and the gates. And now we're going to do a bit of rubbing out, and this is where you discover that it's helpful to have done things lightly, because otherwise it's quite hard to get rid of it. And this takes a bit of time and patience, and if you rub a bit of your main line out like I just did there, you can always go over it again in a minute. And if you want to, with a black pen in a minute, can go around that whole outline. And we erase that middle gate part from that original square, so like energy can flow through. The lines that need to be left are just just across the vertical and horizontal line in the middle. Oh, and yeah, didn't mention, and to keep the diagonals in as well. So now's a good time to go around the outside, either in pencil a bit stronger so you know that it's there if you feel to, or think it needs it, or to go round with black pen if you're going to keep it as like a pen drawing. If you're going to paint it, you may not want to go around it in pen, it's up to you. I'm doing it here so it can, in black pen, so it can stand out, but you can do it in whatever colour you want to if you so choose. Okay, so there we have your beautiful outline of your Ganesh Yantra. What we're going to do now is the step. There's a step, the yantra have different steps, numbers of steps, depending on the yantra. To do this, there are different ways of doing it. I'm just going to say this time it's just deciding how wide you want your step to be, and just measuring it. So I'm doing about 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters here, and just putting a little, literally going around, just putting a little dot at different positions around the whole inside so that I can just join it up. So you need to do it on the longer sides and the shorter sides all the way around, and then you can join it up. The Ganesh Yantra has one in a step. It's really kind of counts as like 2 steps, so it depends on how you're drawing it. As I'm just doing it as a pen drawing, I'm just doing one line inside, so it's like you have the 2 steps in. If you're wanting to paint it, then you'd probably need to do another step inside of that, so that when you paint you end up with 2 painted strips, because with the paint you're going to need it thicker. But as a pencil drawing, I'm doing it as 2 steps. I feel the significance of these steps needs to be unique for each person as to their meaning. For me, I kind of equate it to, if you've been to India, it's like they have the ghats which lead down to the holy Ganges river, and I feel it's almost like that. It's almost feel like I'm stepping inside myself more deeply, away from the material world, into the more subtle realms and into the ocean of life that I truly am. Okay, now we're continuing our journey inwards. So we're going to be drawing a circle. You want it to go up to the gates, entrances, as I've shown here, just leaving a little bit of a gap. But you just decide yourself on this. There's no set rhyme or reason as to how the size of these gates, as far as I'm, sorry, not gates, these circles, as far as I'm aware. So you need to do 2 circles like I'm doing here, and you just want to leave a big enough space in the center to be able to draw your Ganesh triangles. With the circles as well, I'm just keeping it to one line. between the outer circle and the inner circle, that's where the lotus petals are going to go. So we're now going to be drawing 8 petals. And as you can see on here, I'm going around showing that where each diagonal line, vertical line, horizontal line meets that outer circle, that is going to be the tip of your lotus petal. So they are already there, which is why we left those lines beforehand. But then we need to bisect the to create the base of each petal. So we're looking at the smaller innermost circle. So as you can see here, we put the compass point on one of the diagonals and we set it to just over half again, and we do it over half just so that the when we then draw the little arcs, that they actually meet. If you do it less than half, then they're just not going to meet. And then you go around the whole circle in a clockwise direction, creating more little kisses, as I'm doing here. And this is a great opportunity as you're doing this again to come back to the mantra if it's gone, come back to just observing. There's no right or wrong in it, I feel. It's just an exploration of ourselves and a great way to create something, to remove something. If we've got a new beginning, there's something that holds us back. And you end up with a beautiful meditative tool, picture, painting. Okay, and then we use a ruler, making sure we go through the center point. We just want to make a little mark on that inner circle where I'm just showing there. And again, we just go around the whole circle, making sure each time, like I say, it goes through the center point, so that it lines up with the right one and ends up in the right place. And once you've got those marks, you now need to rub out the little kisses. And then we're going to freehand draw your petals. Now this might stir up something for you, depending on whether you like to draw freehand or not. As you can see, I'm not doing them exact, and I like that. I feel it just brings in that beauty in the imperfection of the perfection, in a way, if that makes sense. And so just take your time doing this. So lotus petals, lotuses symbolize purity. They fascinate me in the fact that they grow out of the mud and it's kind of like, so that's another reason I think they're used a lot in teaching, is the fact, because of their purity, that they come through the mud and in the river. They come through all the muck, which is kind of like what we're doing as human beings. It symbolizes what we're doing, going through all the muck of existence and whatever's in our life, really. But it keeps going, and it keeps continuing on up through the river, through the different currents. All the different currents can affect it, but they don't take it over. It still grows strong and towards the light, and then eventually emerges on the top of the water and blooms into this beautiful, pure, white, pink, blue lotus flower. So it has a lot of deep symbolic meaning. Okay, so then you end up with 8 beautiful lotus petals. So I'm just doing a bit of tidying up now, getting rid of some of the lines and what have you, which again shows, you can see I did it quite softly, but also hard enough so that you could see. But the softer you do it, the easier it is to erase. Right, so now we're going to be drawing the triangles of Ganesh. The first one is an upward triangle, so for me it's like the foundation of us connecting to that spiritual realm. The upward triangles is to do with the spirituality, the masculine. The downward triangles is to do with femininity, and earth worldly pursuits, the manifest reality, compared with the unmanifest, which is the upward facing triangles. So we've now set the compass from the center point to the 12 o'clock position, and then we can take it down to the 6 o'clock position, the compass point, and we draw 2 little arcs where it crosses that innermost circle, and that's going to be then the base of the triangle, and we're taking it up to 12 o'clock, which is the top of the triangle. I feel drawing this triangle, it's that connection, that remembrance of who I am, and the importance of foundations of Ganesh, of working on our inwardly reflecting and working on ourselves and seeing, not forcing, but just seeing what comes up and gets in our way. And now we're going to be drawing the Star of David type effect, which is the interlocking of the masculine and feminine, the upward and downward triangles. So you set your compass point and your pencil, you just measure it to the edge of that triangle, and you'll notice with your accuracy now whether you manage to get a circle that is totally inside that triangle. You can see mine slightly goes over, but again, trying to be as accurate as possible. So we're starting with doing the downward triangle first. So we're keeping that same set point on the compass, the radius. You take it to 12 o'clock and you draw 2 arcs, as I've done here, and then you connect them as that is the base, and down to 6 o'clock to make it the downward facing triangle. And then you use your compass point like you did for your first bigger triangle, same radius, making little arcs on that circle, and then creating the upward facing triangle. Just remembering the mantra. What does this mean for you inside you? Who is Ganesh? What is Ganesh? What am I? And there we have our yantra. Now's the time to just spend a bit of time doing some rubbing out and maybe going over things that you've drawn a bit harder in pencil or in pen. And then when you've done all that, when you feel happy that it's complete, we finish off by honouring the yantra and this energy that is us, as I've said, by putting a dot in the centre at the bindi, like at your forehead, the bindi, that point from which everything came and goes back, yet has never gone from it at all. It's always been there. And I find that just incredible. And then you've done it. Yay, a Ganesh Yantra, which can then be painted, gone over. And now I suggest ending with another round of mantra, or to take a few moments to sit and reflect and say your own little prayer, your own intention and gratitude for getting to know yourself a bit more deeply. I hope you've enjoyed this yantra drawing experience of Ganesh, and hope that we get together again at some point soon. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to get in touch with any questions or to do a workshop or commission a painting of a yantra or anything, please contact me at www.micahpalmer.com or on my Instagram page at micahpalmer. And I look forward to being in touch. Take care. Bye.